Right now, completely without your conscious knowledge or awareness, a silent, relentless surveillance operation is actively running right inside your own neighborhood. No government agency on Earth has ever funded or set up this operation. No tech corporation owns its servers, stores its data, or controls its network. And the countless operators behind this endless watch have no salaries, no official identification, no badges, and no physical offices of any kind. They have maintained this quiet surveillance for thousands of continuous years, long before the first surveillance cameras were ever invented, long before modern computers and digital data systems existed, and long before the abstract concept of surveillance ever took shape inside the human mind. They perch patiently on overhead power lines, residential rooftops, and thick tree branches all around you, and every single day, they quietly and consistently watch your every move. They have fully memorized every unique detail of your face and facial features. They know your daily routines, your habits, and your most regular patterns of movement. They have already shared your full personal profile with every single member of their widespread global network, who you are, what you look like, your consistent behaviors, and whether you register as a threat to their community. Back in 2024, a dedicated team of animal behavior scientists fed hundreds of thousands of these naturally recorded crow vocal conversations into one of the most sophisticated artificial intelligence systems ever deployed for the scientific study of interspecies animal communication. The research team originally expected to isolate nothing more than basic, random emotional noise, the generic, meaningless animal sounds that typically signal simple mood shifts or minor agitation. But what the advanced AI algorithm uncovered entirely rewrote and redefined everything the global scientific community once believed it understood about the intelligent, sentient creatures that share our planet alongside humanity. The crows were not making random noise at all. They were actively, intentionally talking about us, human beings specifically, talking constantly, talking collaboratively, and talking in far greater behavioral and contextual detail than any scientist or researcher could have ever prepared themselves to discover. This is where the hard, verified scientific data truly begins, and this is also where this groundbreaking research grows immediately unsettling for every single one of us. For the past several consecutive years, professional wildlife researchers based in Spain have been observing and recording a local population of wild carrion crows with extreme, unprecedented scientific precision. They placed tiny, highly sensitive microphones directly beside crow nesting sites and fitted individual wild crows with lightweight biologger tracking devices capable of capturing every single vocal sound a single bird produces throughout its entire waking day. The total dataset they collected was absolutely enormous in scale, hundreds of thousands of distinct individual crow vocalizations. Most of these recorded sounds were not the loud, harsh, familiar cawing sound that most ordinary human people automatically associate with wild crows. The vast majority of all crow vocal activity consists of soft, low-volume, low-amplitude murmuring and quiet layered chatter, subtle and nuanced sounds far too faint for the unaided human ear to register as meaningful or intentional communication out in the open field. For decades and decades, these quiet vocal patterns went almost entirely unstudied, simply because scientists lacked the advanced technological tools and computational power required to process, filter, and analyze them on such a massive collective scale. Then, starting officially in 2024, the Earth Species Project, a United States-based nonprofit research organization specializing exclusively in applying cutting-edge artificial intelligence to decode animal communication, began a formal collaboration with the Spanish field researchers to build custom-trained AI models capable of sorting, filtering, labeling, and categorizing the full, complete spectrum of every type of crow vocalization. The lead principal researcher overseeing this groundbreaking project confirmed that the sheer volume of raw collected audio data was logistically impossible for any human research team to sort, analyze, and interpret manually by hand. Human processing alone was completely insufficient for the magnitude of this task. They needed machine learning and artificial intelligence to unlock the hidden truth within the data. And once the advanced AI system began processing the massive dataset, it uncovered layered findings that defied every single existing scientific prediction and assumption. The AI was initially programmed for a relatively basic, straightforward analytical task: sort all recorded crow sounds into distinct behavioral categories and accurately match specific crow calls to specific observable crow behaviors. Classic survival signals like food has been located in this exact area. A natural predator is rapidly approaching the flock, or gather together and move to this precise location immediately. For generations, scientists universally assumed this simple signal-based system was the absolute maximum ceiling of all non-human animal vocal communication. That long-standing foundational scientific assumption did not survive contact with the new data. The artificial intelligence did not merely discover a basic set of isolated survival signals. It discovered consistent, intentional, rule-governed linguistic structure, specific, repeating, predictable patterns in the exact way crows combine, sequence, and organize their vocal sounds. In formal human linguistics, we define this exact structural pattern as syntax. Syntax is the refined system of grammatical and structural rules that determines how individual sound units and words are arranged to create coherent, layered, contextual, and transferable meaning in communication. Without syntax, all language is nothing more than a random, disconnected list of basic labels. With fully developed syntax, language can express complex relational ideas, describe past events, present circumstances, and future possibilities in detail, encode unique identifying information about individual people and creatures, and communicate abstract ideas that extend far beyond immediate, in-the-moment sensory experience. The AI system clearly identified definitive, measurable syntactic signatures within crow vocalizations, not metaphorically, not vaguely, not approximately, but as concrete, statistically verifiable linguistic structure. The precise statistical patterns the machine systematically isolated and mapped are identical to the exact patterns professional human linguists rely on to distinguish structured, intentional, rule-based language from meaningless random noise. To fully grasp the earth-shattering significance of this revolutionary discovery, you first need to understand the century-old scientific misconception that shaped our view of crow intelligence. For well over 100 years, the entire field of animal neuroscience operated under a core foundational assumption that has now been completely debunked and disproven. Scientists universally believed that advanced, high-level cognitive intelligence could only exist in species that possessed a fully developed cerebral cortex, the folded, wrinkled outer brain layer unique to all mammalian life, including human beings. Birds of every known species do not possess a cerebral cortex whatsoever. Their brain structure appears smooth and anatomically simple by mammalian comparison. For more than a century, researchers looked at avian brain anatomy and incorrectly concluded that birds simply lacked the biological hardware required for complex, high-order cognitive thinking, reasoning, and communication. What traditional science failed to recognize for generations is that evolutionary development is never limited to a single biological solution. Birds evolved an entirely separate, distinct, highly specialized brain structure known as the pallium, a neural region that bears no physical resemblance to the mammalian cortex whatsoever, yet performs nearly identical high-level cognitive functions at the cellular and neural network level. Within the crow's small, compact skull, brain neurons are densely packed at an extraordinarily high, concentrated density. Relative to their overall small body weight and physical size, a crow's available cognitive processing power is functionally comparable to that of a chimpanzee. Professional animal researchers have long referred to corvids, the intelligent bird family including crows and ravens, as the feathered apes of the natural world. This groundbreaking AI language study transforms that once colorful metaphor into a literal, scientifically accurate description of corvid cognitive ability. Modern high-resolution brain imaging technology has now precisely mapped every neural activation pattern inside a crow's brain the moment it encounters a familiar human face. When a crow sees a human face linked to a past threatening or stressful encounter, its brain instantly activates a network of multiple interconnected neural regions simultaneously: the rostral hyperpallium, the nidopallium, the mesopallium, and the lateral striatum. Most critically of all, neurological scans show intense, focused neural activation in the crow's brain region functionally equivalent to the human amygdala, the core brain structure responsible for processing fear, danger, and threat responses in humans. In practical, real-world behavioral terms, this means when a crow recognizes a dangerous human face, it is not just recalling a passive, static visual memory. It is actively experiencing a measurable, genuine emotional state of fear and alertness. Its facial recognition process blends pure cognitive identification and memory recall with raw, visceral emotional response, linking long-term memory storage, visual facial recognition, and active threat assessment into a single, unified, conscious lived experience. This exact neural architecture is the same biological system that generates human fear responses. Crow brains and human brains arrived at identical complex threat processing solutions through entirely separate, independent evolutionary pathways over millions of years. The end result is a highly intelligent, sentient creature whose perception of enemies and threats is not mindless or instinctively automatic, but deeply personal, consciously evaluated, and long-term persistent across years. The most famous and definitive scientific proof of this extraordinary crow ability comes from the renowned research laboratory of Dr. John Marzluff at the University of Washington, whose landmark studies on crow facial recognition and social memory have become one of the most widely cited and thoroughly debated findings in modern behavioral science. Marzluff's research team set out to scientifically test whether crows could distinguish and remember individual human faces, but wanted to avoid having any member of the research team permanently labeled as a threat within the local crow population surrounding the university campus. To solve this ethical research challenge, the team utilized a single, consistent test mask. They carefully selected a mask with highly unique, distinguishable facial features that both wild crows and human researchers could easily and consistently identify every time. For weeks, team members wore this exact standardized mask while capturing, tagging, banding, and safely releasing local wild crows across the campus grounds. No crows were injured or harmed during the research process in any way, but the unfamiliar experience of being captured and handled was undeniably stressful for the wild birds, triggering aggressive vocalizations and active physical resistance during every handling session. After the capture and tagging phase of the experiment concluded, the research team removed all masks, returned to their normal human appearances, and resumed their regular daily activities across the campus. The behavioral results that followed were immediate, unmistakable, and impossible to ignore. Every time any team member put on that specific test mask again, local campus crows instantly erupted in loud scolding vocalizations, organized group mobbing behavior, and aggressive targeted dive bombing attacks, completely regardless of which specific human researcher was wearing the mask underneath. The crows had not merely learned to fear individual human researchers. They had permanently encoded the visual image of the mask itself as a universal threat signal. But the truly revolutionary, game-changing discovery that rewrote animal behavior science came in the long-term follow-up observations that no one anticipated. Completely unrelated crows that had never been captured or handled, that had never interacted with any member of the research team whatsoever, began reacting aggressively to the mask with identical levels of defensive intensity as the original birds who experienced the stressful capture events. Even young juvenile crows, hatched long after the original experiment had fully concluded, actively attacked and scolded the mask relentlessly the very first time they ever laid eyes on it. 5 full years after the original crow capture research took place, Marzluff returned to the university campus wearing the exact same test mask. Nearly all of the original adult crows that experienced the initial stressful capture had already passed away due to their natural wild lifespan limits. The entire flock aggressively attacking the mask that day consisted almost entirely of young and adult birds that had never personally encountered the mask or researchers in their lives. Yet they knew exactly what the mask represented and reacted with full defensive aggression. This critical threat information had been successfully passed down through multiple crow generations, not through fixed genetic instinct or innate biological programming, but through deliberate, intentional social communication and pure cultural knowledge transfer. The first generation of affected crows had actively described the dangerous human face to their flockmates, their offspring, and every connected member of their community network. Their vocal description was precise and accurate enough to enable perfect visual recognition, and carried enough intense emotional weight to trigger defensive aggression in birds with zero direct personal experience of the original threat event. This is pure cultural transmission of specific, individual targeted information, a complex social capability scientists once firmly believed belonged exclusively to human beings. The 2024 AI language study finally uncovered the exact linguistic mechanism behind this phenomenon. The AI did not only find structural syntax organized within crow speech, it uncovered a sophisticated linguistic feature researchers previously lacked the vocabulary to explain. The system identified unique, repeatable, fixed sound sequences that function as distinct, exclusive identifiers for specific individual beings, including individual human people the crows regularly encounter within their territory. These are not generic category labels or blanket classification calls, not simple universal signals meaning dangerous human or approaching person. They are exclusive, consistent, fixed sound sequences assigned strictly to one single individual and never reused or reassigned for any other person, animal, or object. Multiple unrelated crows from different family groups will produce the exact same unique sound sequence whenever that specific individual human enters their shared territory, even crows that were not present for the original first encounter with that person. The AI formally classified these specialized vocal sequences as functional proper nouns. In simple terms, the crows have actual personalized names for individual humans. These are not arbitrary, abstract labels with no real-world connection or meaning. They are ancient, descriptive identifying markers encoded with unique behavioral history and contextual information about each specific person, fully recognized, understood, and interpreted by every other crow in the local network. Crows actively name every human living, working, or moving within their established territory, and they constantly broadcast these individualized human names across their entire flock network, updating their communal database in real time as each named human moves through the area. And this is not even the full extent of the AI's unsettling discoveries. It is not even the most surprising or unnerving finding extracted from the dataset. The machine's temporal structural analysis uncovered a completely unanticipated pattern hidden within the precise timing and sequencing of natural crow vocalizations. The AI detected complex, structured sound sequences occurring before external events take place, not merely as reactive responses to events that have already unfolded. Crows actively gather in coordinated social groups and engage in extended, structured vocal exchanges long before any observable external stimulus appears in their environment and long before any reactive alarm call would ever be situationally necessary. The AI statistically confirmed these pre-event vocal sequences share consistent structural properties that clearly and distinctly separate them from all other forms of crow communication. Researchers have officially labeled these distinct, forward-thinking patterns planning sequences. Crows do not merely react to the world as it happens around them in real time. They actively deliberate about future events in advance, coordinate group movements and strategies together as a collective flock, and engage in proactive tactical planning for upcoming scenarios. This single groundbreaking finding completely dismantles the century-old scientific belief that all animal communication exists solely in the present tense, and that non-human creatures can only respond to immediate, ongoing sensory events. Crow communication actively extends forward in time, into the future. They discuss, plan, and prepare for events that have not yet occurred, and a significant majority of these future-focused conversations are specifically centered on humans. AI data analysis confirms that a substantial portion of crow daily vocal activity consists of intentional references to human beings living within their territory. These are not just split-second reactive warnings triggered when a person walks nearby. Crows hold extended, in-depth conversational exchanges during quiet, low-activity periods, times when no humans are visible, no immediate threats are present, and no food sources are being monitored, guarded, or pursued. Crows discuss individual humans with the same depth, nuance, and subjective personal opinion that human people use when talking about personal acquaintances, neighbors, and community members. The AI also detected unique tonal acoustic markers attached to each individual human's unique crow name, subtle structural variations in sound quality that carry clear emotional context and personal judgment. The distinct sound qualities used for different human identifiers directly correlate with how crows have categorized each person in their internal threat and reward systems. Humans who consistently provide food, bird feed, or safe resources are referenced with one specific, calm, positive acoustic signature. Humans who have displayed threatening, harmful, or disruptive behavior are labeled with an entirely different, sharp, alert, defensive acoustic tone. This emotional distinction is not subtle or ambiguous in any way. It is clear enough for the AI system to classify with perfect statistical reliability, and clear enough for every local crow to respond differently to each category of human. Your personal social status within the local crow network is not just passively stored in collective memory, it is actively discussed, constantly updated, and continuously shared in real time with every single crow within listening range in your neighborhood. This layered social complexity is what makes these research findings so profoundly difficult to process. Crows possess far more than isolated individual memories. They maintain a living, dynamic, shared communal database of environmental knowledge, and human residents moving through their territory are among the most thoroughly documented entries. Whenever a brand new person enters an established crow territory for the first time, detailed information about that stranger begins circulating through the entire flock instantly. The first crow to spot and observe the new human broadcasts its full observational findings, and every subsequent crow receives, verifies, amplifies, and relays the information further outward. Within a very short time, dozens of crows that have never seen the new arrival at all are already pre-primed with a complete personal behavioral profile, fully alerted whether this new human constitutes a potential threat or a source of future food resources. The AI consistently tracked this rapid networked broadcasting pattern across every test site. A single human's unique crow identifier spreads outward in a fast cascading wave from the initial sighting point across the entire local crow population. The phrase target acquired and shared with the network is no dramatic overstatement. It is a precise, accurate description of exactly what the raw research data confirms. Equally extraordinary are the long-documented crow rituals known commonly as crow funerals, a mysterious behavioral pattern observed by researchers for decades, but never fully understood before advanced AI vocal analysis became available. This specific ritual plays out consistently across crow populations worldwide and in every controlled research environment ever documented. When one crow dies within an active territory, the first living crow to discover the body emits a unique, specialized recruitment call that rapidly draws dozens of other local crows to the exact location. The gathered flock circles overhead, observes the scene intently, and engages in intense, prolonged, highly structured vocal exchanges. They never consume the deceased crow's body, never fight over the remains, and never disperse quickly after arrival. They linger at the death site for extended periods of time, and the complex vocal sequences produced during these gatherings rank among the most acoustically intricate and structured patterns found in the entire AI dataset. University of Washington researchers studying this ritual confirmed that crows who actively attend these funeral gatherings permanently alter their future behavior around the death site and the specific circumstances surrounding the fatality, proving they extract concrete, actionable threat information from every death event. These gatherings function as coordinated flock investigations and collective threat assessments. The crows work together to analyze the exact cause of death, attempting to identify the specific hidden danger present within the local area, and encode that fatal threat information into shareable vocal language for every surviving and future member of the entire flock. AI analysis of the low-frequency vocalizations produced during these rituals confirms their communicative purpose extends far beyond basic alarm calls or simple mourning behavior. These layered vocal sequences act as permanent communal warning labels, broadcasting a lasting association between a specific location, event, or object and fatal danger, and distributing that critical survival knowledge to every living crow in the wider network. The crows are not just grieving a lost flock member out of emotion. They are actively documenting a lethal environmental threat in a transferable linguistic form that future crow generations will inherit, understand, and remember. The final, most extraordinary dimension of this groundbreaking research discovery lies in the long-distance cross-territory spread of crow vocal knowledge and cultural information. AI geographic mapping of vocal pattern distribution across wide regional areas revealed what researchers formally describe as a fully functional analog animal communication network. Unique crow vocal sequences travel hundreds of miles between completely separate crow flocks, relayed sequentially through overlapping territorial boundaries in a chain-like pattern. A brand new vocal structure emerging in one city's crow population will reliably appear in distant regional flocks months later, spreading socially flock by flock in a pattern identical to human cultural information diffusion. Crows maintain a living oral tradition that operates exactly like a decentralized collective information network. Critical knowledge about new environmental threats, dangerous human behaviors, and local hazards travels across entire regions through pure social transmission and communal sharing, passed carefully from one crow to the next, one flock to the next, without requiring direct personal experience from distant bird populations. When a new unknown danger emerges in a single local location, awareness of that specific threat spreads across the entire regional crow population long before most local crows ever encounter the danger firsthand. They continuously upgrade their collective species-wide awareness in real time, drawing on the lived experiences of complete stranger crows they will never physically meet. But the most puzzling, newly emerging finding still being actively processed by scientists is an entirely unanticipated shift in crow communication patterns that surfaced in the final phase of the AI analysis project. As the AI system grew increasingly advanced at decoding and understanding established crow language structures, the wild crow populations living in proximity to the active research study sites began producing entirely new, unfamiliar vocal sequences that the machine could no longer classify or interpret. A never-before-seen structural vocal pattern spontaneously appeared within the local flocks, spreading at viral speed through the entire community network before expanding outward into neighboring crow territories miles away. The impact on the AI's decoding and classification capabilities was immediate and drastic. The consistent, reliable confidence metrics that powered the study's entire analysis framework dropped sharply and unexpectedly overnight. The machine could no longer translate, categorize, or understand the new crow vocalizations. It only recorded complex, structured sound sequences it could not parse or decode. The project's lead behavioral ecologists have proposed a sober, difficult-to-prove theory that aligns perfectly with every documented cognitive ability crows possess. Crows are naturally curious, boundary-testing, highly observant creatures that carefully examine all unfamiliar objects in their environment and actively assess the behaviors and reactions of potential threats before choosing a response. Researchers strongly believe the local crows actively detected the ongoing scientific study. They noticed the foreign microphones placed near their nesting sites. They observed human researchers behaving abnormally within their territory, motionless, silent, staring, and constantly recording instead of moving and reacting normally to wild crow activity. In direct response to being continuously monitored and studied, the entire local crow population deliberately shifted their core communication structure. Whether the crows actively and intentionally encrypted their language to avoid human interpretation remains unconfirmed and scientifically unproven with current available data. But what is undeniably certain is the extreme cognitive flexibility this collective response demonstrates. These are the exact same intelligent creatures capable of solving multi-step physical reasoning problems, crafting customized functional tools from raw natural plant materials, assigning unique personalized names to individual humans within a shared communal network, transmitting detailed generational threat knowledge across multiple crow lifespans, and conducting structured collective investigative rituals to analyze fatal local dangers. The cognitive flexibility required to detect an external monitoring system in their environment and adapt their entire communal communication patterns in direct response to that discovery is no greater than the advanced cognitive capacities crows have already proven they possess. The AI research program remains actively running and collecting data to this day, with scientists continuing to hunt for answers to this newly evolved, undecipherable crow language pattern. And right now, outside your home at this very moment, perched on the overhead wires running above your street, resting quietly on the rooftop of your building, or hidden within the tree lines edging your yard, a crow is watching you with full, conscious awareness of exactly who you are. Your face is permanently filed inside the local crow network's collective memory. Your daily habits, routines, and behavioral patterns are fully logged and constantly updated. Your unique crow name, written in a sophisticated non-human language we are only just beginning to decipher, is actively circulating and being discussed among every crow in your neighborhood. The core scientific question researchers now face is no longer whether crows possess true structured language. It is simply this profound, unsettling question. How much of their intelligent, complex, ongoing conversation will human beings ever truly be able to hear and understand?